Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for what I don't even know what to call this now, because we don't need to call it therapy session. We won the game of flipping football, live reaction, player ratings, all sorts of buzzing business. I just said to Ollie before we went live, the less games you win, the more buzzing you are every time it does happen. Because oh
right.
boy, am I over the moon. Seagulls in the mud. Absolutely love it. I am buzzing. I mean, I just want to start off with this, by the way. This today proved again why referees need VAR.
So bad.
That was a shambles. That was a shambles. And I'm not even saying we were necessarily disadvantaged by any means. It was just a shambles on every end. It was ridiculous. Ugochukwu should have been sent off. They flagged bro, you're offside in our own half. What the fuck, man? The rules, man. Jackson scored a goal which looked to be onside.
It was definitely onside.
Yeah, exactly. And even the other one, the Chile was offside first half. I was like, are we sure it was offside? But yeah.
I mean, we're laughing about it now, but I bet you some Brighton fans are absolutely fuming at that display because refereeing performance was terrible all around. Like, he was bad for them.
Because if Ugochukwu gets sent off just before half time,
game changes. Yeah, 100%. And you really could have argued it for sure.
Exactly that.
It's just nice to have a feel-good feeling, though, isn't it? You know, won a game, scored a goal. Hasn't happened in September.
Mate, I mean, it's still ridiculous that we've only scored one goal in September, but, you know, better one than
all of the months secure, baby.
Hey, I mean, the finish itself weren't that special, but I like the build-up, I suppose. I liked the build-up. But yeah, a bit of crazy business today because Chelsea or Pochettino decided to start 3 left-backs. Actually, if you want to include Levi Colwill, we started 4 left-backs.
When I saw the team come out, I was like, I can usually sort of decipher about who's playing where, at least sort of in the abstract. I looked at the lineup and I was like, I have no fucking idea who's playing where at all. I have no idea. I just couldn't tell. I mean, we had this weird thing with Cucurella on the right-hand side. You know, Chilwell was kind of playing as a winger and a fullback. You know, Colwill was kind of the left back, but also the centre back. But also the central centre back. It was just bizarre. It really was.
Exactly. But I will say this, you know, having a normal left back on the pitch, we looked like a normal team of football. They were sometimes attacking on that side, sometimes attacking on that side. Mudryk had someone overlapping him and Chilwell. Things looked like they made a bit of sense. But I mean, I'm not going to say like we were amazing. And, you know,
it's like patterns of play, though. You know, like just decent patterns of play, like actually a decent attacking performance in the end, I would say. A bit turgid and boring in the first half, like sort of a bit cagey. But in the second half, it really opened up. And we got to see a little bit more of what this team can do when they actually go ahead in a game, instead of when we're always chasing behind. And it's clear that when we're ahead, you know, heads are high, confidence is high, and we just continue to do our thing. You know, really encouraging. But we need to make sure we have those kind of performances when we go 1-0 down, instead of letting our heads drop and struggling and bashing our heads into a wall over and over. Because what we saw today was a million times better than almost every other game we've seen this season.
Yeah, it was. I was literally going to say that now. Like, we weren't great. And we had, while the sides of the pitch were better today, the central areas we struggled a bit more compared to usual. Then again, we were also just playing a team that's very good at that side of the pitch. And obviously, we didn't play Enzo. Of course, that was going to make us a little bit worse to some extent. But I say that, he plays so high up the pitch, usually, what difference does it really make? You could argue no Gallagher, no midfield stability. Do you know what I mean? I will also say, when Gallagher came on, and Enzo, to be fair, second half, we kind of like, we did what I was pretty happy with in this game. We did pretty well at just seeing the game out. I know they had that one. But otherwise, I thought we didn't let it go crazy. We
really limited their chances. We didn't let them, you know, sort of like swarm us and get on top of us. We did well to, you know, just, and, you know, credit to where credit's due on Pochettino as well, because he made the right subs to sort of slow the game down and see it out as well.
Exactly. The only sub that I didn't fully understand was why he left Ugochukwu on at halftime. That seemed very risky to me, but it worked out, I guess. So you can't fault it too much in hindsight, I suppose. But yeah, there you go. It's kind of crazy because you and me were sat here yesterday in the preview already. You said 2-0 Brighton, I think. I said 1-1 and we'd lose on penalties. None of us were confident.
No.
And this was like, I still always predicted a win for all the other games. It was the first time I didn't. And look what happened. It's just difficult, isn't it?
It's just the universe, isn't it? Just saying.
Yeah, it's how it goes. It's just how it goes and what life needs to do to us. Of course, typical as well. We had to make sure we got another injury in with Ben Chilwell having to go off at the end. I mean, thankfully, we do have 3 right backs and play a centre back and left back. So, we have 3 left backs and a centre back playing a left back, and usually anyway. So it doesn't matter that much, but still, just typical. We win the game, we score a goal, and of course, we have to top it off with some bad news by the end. But yeah, just overall, before we open up the team and talk through player ratings, thoughts? Because like there was a lot of different opinions. But Pice was obviously at the game, was talking to us in the group chat, and he was like, it was dead and we were awful. I didn't necessarily think we were awful. I didn't think we were good, but I think you do have to keep in perspective a little bit who we're playing against. Because Brighton are probably the best team we've played all season. Because Liverpool, when we played them, they didn't have a midfield yet, so they really weren't particularly good. So yeah, with that in mind, I think compared to what all of us expected as well, I don't think you can complain all that much. What do you think, mate?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a decent performance in the end. Yeah, we were going back and forth in our group chat, and you know, I was sort of saying I thought we've played all right, and Pice was absolutely adamant that we hadn't, which is, you know, is fair enough at the time because we weren't winning at the time, and you know, it can, you know, we especially in the first half, we didn't look like we were creating much at all, and it looked like a very, like I said, a very cagey game. Things were getting like really sort of one-sided, and you know, as a result. Sorry, it was very sort of two-sided. I mean, not one-sided. Yeah. You know, so it was just kind of wasn't getting anywhere. But then I think it was really just, I don't know if it's just as easy as us staying in the game, you know, because like we just didn't concede an early goal. We didn't let Brighton bully us at all. We were, you know, pretty industrious in defence. And then when Brighton had to open up a bit more, it allowed us to have our chances, you know, and to take our chances as well. And we could have scored a couple more. You know, obviously Jackson's offside chance, but we had some other decent opportunities as well. You know, I thought Jackson actually had a much better game today. Obviously, a shame he's hurt his wrist, of course. But you know what? In that case, probably the game he suspended against Fulham at the weekend will do a world of good. And do you know what? It looks like Armando Broja is kind of ready to come back and fire in as well, because you know what? He looked like an absolute specimen when I saw him. You know, he looked like a real machine.
Yeah, no, he really did. He probably doesn't have the fitness to do more than like half an hour at this point yet. But in terms of the rest of it, he looks explosive, he looks quick, he looks sharp, he looks strong, like you touched on. Very good. Ricky says we had bits where we looked good. Also had a lot of brain farted teamed in the first half, to be fair. Yeah, we did. We'll get to those, absolutely. Ice cold beverage. Should I call you ICB? Maybe we should do that. Big up, Laurenz. Nice to finally have a stream. This is not a therapy session, mate. I could not agree more. Big up.
It could be a therapy session. You can go to a therapy session and tell your therapist that you're feeling good.
That's true. It's true. You know what? Actually, Ollie, you make a good point. We'll call everything therapy session this season until we win the trophy. Once we win the trophy, we're done with therapy. Then we don't go anymore. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, big up everyone who's tuned in. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Of course, check out Ollie's socials down in the description below, his Twitter, as well as his podcast. Not yet sure where Aaron is. He should be turning up, but I'm sure he will at some point. Also, Newcastle knocked Man City out, which makes this whole competition a lot more interesting because
it blows the competition wide open, you know?
Exactly. Well, now we could actually win the thing. And now it's a bit crazy to say that because we're currently 14th in the league and everyone is better than us. But obviously, by the time we get to latter rounds and blah, 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 obviously the draw is still going to happen. We were completely baited, by the way. It's just to inform you guys. I actually just realized, I think I even tweeted this. Hold up.
Yeah, you did. That's why I thought it was legit, because you tweeted it. Basically, we have a group chat with a bunch of us we have a group chat with a bunch of us. We're all kind of mates and hanging out, talking about Chelsea and stuff. And our lovely friend, Damesh, who's been on the show before, was immediately saying that we drew Liverpool away after the game. Now, that's not true. Don't adjust your television sets or your computers. It's not true.
Yeah, but you know what happened, though? Like, Pice asked, like, when is the draw type thing, as if it was already happening. Like, he seemed so like I need to know who it is so I can tweet it type vibe. Then when Dams replied, I just took his word for it. But I was like, surely someone would have tweeted about this. But yeah, we got baited slightly, but hey, here we are. We won a game of football. I'll take it. I can take a little bit of bait after winning a game. I'll bring up the lineup now. We'll talk about player ratings in a second, obviously. But in terms of formation and lineup, and the picks, I would say more so than anything else. This is how we turn up. Cucurella at right back, Levi Colwill left centre back, Ben Chilwell at left back, Ian Maatsen at right wing was where we played our 4 left backs, which is kind of crazy. But in the end, it turned out to kind of work.
Yeah, do you know what? I was
Everybody's
thinking
already
that.
memeing like Cucurella at right back. It's just what Aspie did at left back. It's amazing.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because usually you would say that having, a lot of the time you want opposite sided footed players on the opposite sides,
Yeah.
whether that's a right winger on the left and a left winger on the right or vice versa. But on this, so I thought this was really going to hamper us having a predominantly left footed sort of right hand side, but it allowed us to sort of play a lot more easily. And we didn't seem to really need to get the ball down the line on the right as much. But when we did want to, people like Caicedo and Palmer and stuff got down that side and sort of covered for that. So, it didn't seem to hamper us at all. I was very impressed, actually.
As was I. Ollie, I need to open the door in a second for my girlfriend here. So I will just let you start by talking about Robert Sanchez, because he made some good saves today, but he also had a few howlers, and this passing, oh my word, it was all over the shop. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Just need to open the door for my girlfriend. And Ollie will keep you entertained talking about the craziness that is Robert Sanchez. It's a bit insane, I won't lie.
All right. Well, Sanchez, he had a quite a difficult game. It seemed, like his distribution was kind of all over the place. Especially in the first half. I think he passed the ball out of play like 3-4 times, and then he just kept passing it to Brighton's attackers. I don't know what was happening. Maybe they just kind of had him sussed out about where he was trying to pass the ball. I don't know, but he just seemed like he was having a really hard time out there. In the second half, I thought he redeemed himself a little bit, still sort of struggling with his distribution for sure, but made some decent saves, especially late on against the header. I know it was sort of straight at him. It was good height for him, but still a good save nonetheless. Now that Laurenz is gone, you guys can, say every outrageous Chelsea-based take you've ever thought in the chat. You should put absolutely, just say Sanchez is better than Czech. Just absolutely, when he's back, he'll be so confused, guys. Let's do that. Sanchez, for me, he's just been, I don't know, this season. If anything, it seemed like Petrovic was going to play today, but I just had this weird feeling that Sanchez, because of the last couple of games where he played quite well, would get the nod today, and he did. But he didn't really show anything with it, really. He had a real, exactly, armchair supporter. Nightmare first half, decent second half. That's kind of how I would look at it. He seemed like he was under a lot of pressure. He just looked like he really didn't. He just looked like he really wasn't that bothered, and at times it just seemed to me that, I don't know, he almost seemed a little bit frightened of the ball at times. And, he's really rash and quick to get rid of it. Of course, we know how good Brighton can press. So, I don't know. Overall, difficult first half, but decent second half.
Very good. Sorry, I was just distracted here because just saw a quote from Pochettino about Madueke's absence. And all the quote says is, it's about choice. I'm not sure what on earth that could mean. Did he just choose to leave him out, or what did Noni do? Because Noni seemed to be like one of those that seemed to be proper, working hard and everything else. So a bit confused how that's happened. And also, he said the Ben Chilwell picked up a hamstring injury. So, yeah, that's great.
Not great.
But yeah, I obviously didn't hear what Oli was talking about, Sanchez. But to give you my perspective, I don't know about some of these passes that especially the first one, that was real bad. Like, he just played it directly to the Brighton player. There was no Chelsea player anywhere to be seen. Luckily for him, they put it wide. I think that one he didn't save. But they put it wide. I don't know what he was thinking. There was also so many. I mean, he did have to play long a lot today because Brighton obviously pressed very high, and we didn't always want to play out through them and stuff. But also the accuracy of those long balls. And I'm not saying they didn't find a teammate, but even they went out of play, they went nowhere near Jackson, nowhere near any of our players at times. It was a bit crazy. And then he obviously had that one where he passed it to Caicedo, and Caicedo was, to be honest, quite clearly fouled from the back. So as much as, it looks stupid and we nearly conceded from it, to be honest, he himself made a really good save in the end from Ansu Fati to keep it out. But in a way, it's obviously kind of his fault, I guess, but he did play to Caicedo. And I'm not even going to blame Caicedo because as soon as he got it, as soon as he controlled it, he kind of got a knee in the back or in the back of his thigh or whatever.
I don't know. Then, some of the guys in the chat are disagreeing with you. They've got some pretty interesting takes on Sanchez's game, I would say.
In terms of that he was good or what?
Well, people saying here, he's clear of check, So
yeah. Well, people say a lot of things. I'm not sure I agree, especially the bloody passing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe gets a helmet on. Could be the new check.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a helmet would help him keep his mind controlled a little bit and not passing it to the opponent. You know. But in terms of rating, I mean, he kept a clean sheet, made a couple of good saves. Outside of the one really bad mistake as a pass and the few pieces of bad distribution, I don't think you complain too much. I think in total, he still probably warrants something like a 7. Would you go along with something like that, Ollie, or were the defensive mistakes too bad?
I think they were too much for me. I wouldn't give Sanchez more than a 5, considering how good he was in the last couple games, where he really kept us in it and he did a really good job and his distribution was actually pretty good. Today, he could have cost us at least 2 goals if things don't go our way. And that's the difference between winning this game and losing the game. So for me, I think I'd give him like a 4.5. And that's probably been a bit generous, considering how poor some of the chances he gave up was.
Sorry, I think the chat may have meant his passing is better than Jake. But even that is not true. I'm not sure. Okay, you've made me reevaluate. Let me think. I still think you've gone very low because I'm like, okay, yes, he gave the ball away. For, like I say, the second time, I don't really blame him that much. If anything, it's on Caicedo, but it's mostly a foul, so on the ref.
Yeah, I think it's just for me, it's like you can't keep putting yourself in that same situation. You know, and you've done it. So if you do it once, it's like, okay, well, it's unlucky or what happened to Caicedo or whatever, you know, or just a brain fart. But you did it like multiple times, and it's. You know, it's like I get maybe it was like a tactical instruction or whatever, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't working.
Yeah, no, it's true. It wasn't really working. That you can say. I mean, it's just difficult because it was also kind of the first team that really pressed high this season. Obviously, Liverpool in parts, but not for the whole time. So it's a little bit difficult for me in terms of. I don't know, because...
So I'll put it this way. I think if we lost and Sanchez had that performance, I reckon he gets slated really bad.
Yeah, obviously depending on what goal, because we would have had to...
Yeah, right. We'll say it was a separate goal entirely, right? So it was like he didn't make a mistake and let a goal in, but still having had that performance, I think he gets really badly slated. So I don't think we can overcompensate and say just because we won that he had a good game and kept a clean sheet, because one, ultimately that's like across the whole defense's duty, but also, you know, like I don't really feel like, for example, I think he had a better performance than in our last 2 games, and we didn't win either of them. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't know. For me, it couldn't be that high for me.
Fair enough. You know what? As we are then kind of at a 4, I will adapt my rating to a 6 rather than a 7, because now after you've spoken, I think maybe 7 has gone a bit high. But because that leaves us at a 5.25, which is kind of exactly in the middle. And yes, theoretically, you would have to round up to 5.5. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys in the chat the poll option to pick between a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7. And, you know, I can only give you 4 options. So that's what I'm going to give you. And we'll just go with what we get as an overall from that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, subscribe if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. Not sure what happened to Aaron, but hey, you know, me and Ollie will have a good time. So it's perfectly fine. So far, I leave Sanchez at a question mark, and we'll come back to it when we've had a few more votes of you guys in the poll. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure there's a poll in the live chat, and please place your vote in there so we can decide on Robert Sanchez's rating. Let's get to the back 4 then. I will do Levi Colwill first. Yeah, but I don't really know. I don't really have much to complain. I don't really have that much to like pick out to praise necessarily.
I think he didn't have that much to do today.
No,
wasn't as involved. Bit involved, but not that involved, I would say.
Exactly, but like overall, like it's weird because one of his best attributes at Brighton was passing, and that's what I feel like he's shown the least of in all of the games for Chelsea so far, which is kind of strange. But I did feel that he just looked more comfortable today being a centre back instead of a left back, and I did enjoy that. There was a moment where he was like in a duel with one of the Brighton players, and then like half lying on the floor, he kind of made sure he still got a head on it to like hit it away and stuff. So I did enjoy that. So overall, because he didn't do anything wrong, but because he didn't do anything great either, I think I'm just going to give him an average 6. Would you potentially go along with that, Ollie? Would you go a bit higher? Armchair supporter here says 6.5.
I would have gone 6.5 just because I think his performance was just slightly better than average, I would say.
Exactly. I mean, USA CFC says, Bobby, he had 2 good long balls today. I mean, he only had 1 completed. He might have had another good one that I can't think of right now. But yeah, no, he was good. Sorry, Ollie, I was trying to read the chat at the same time as listening to you. Did you say you agree with the 6?
I said 6.5.
Oh, there you go. You know what? Hey, I'm all down for positivity. Let's go with Ollie. It's a bit weird. We will have more to say about the others, now, especially as it's just us 2 at the moment. We're obviously going to get through these guys a little bit quicker. But regardless of that, getting to Axel Disasi. Now, obviously, I'll take a moment for this one because I was very critical of not necessarily him, but the signing of him at the beginning. And then obviously he's also made some mistakes in certain games. I think he was not the only one at fault, but the main one at fault for the Liverpool goal we conceded. He was at fault for one of the West Ham goals we conceded. He made a mistake against Luton, which just didn't get punished. He obviously made that mistake against Bournemouth, or was it Forest? One of them, where he didn't look great. But I must say, the last couple of games, he's been very solid, very calm, no mistakes, no big issues. I do still sometimes question how he's that big and doesn't win more aerials. That's confused me sometimes, especially because we have 0 attacking threat from set pieces, which I'm like, well, we have Disasi, who's absolutely massive. How can it? Because Mudryk takes most of the set pieces at the moment, and they're not bad. Like, he puts a lot of power on them. Often they're in a decent position. I'm like, how can we never get on any of these? So maybe Disasi needs to work on that a little bit. But in terms of defending and calmness on the ball, I've been quite happy with him the last 2 games. And honestly, this is maybe why I was a bit hesitant of giving Colwill the 6.5, because I'm not sure if Disasi quite deserves a 7. But I did kind of feel like he was, maybe better is the wrong word, but just more prominent in the game. I'm not sure if that necessarily warrants a higher rating, but I just noticed him more, and I still never noticed him really do anything wrong. So if we're going to be just on the more positive side of things, I think I might give him the 7. Whereabouts do you think for Disasi today?
Oh, I would say the same. I would say give him a 7 because for the same reason as you, I don't think he necessarily had a better game than Colwill, but I do think that he seemed more prominent. Like you say, he was like more active in the game. Like you say, I just noticed his performance more on that. For me, that's kind of got to mean something. I thought he made some really nice sort of line breaking passes, was defensively really, really solid again today. And he looks like he's adapting to the league. Like, I know it was the cup today, but we're playing Premier League opposition. But he's adapting to the level of play that he needs to be playing at really well and quite quickly as well. So it's looking like he was a decent signing, because I was the same. I was like, we have Chalobah, why do we need Disasi? But I don't know. We can't really complain, I think, so far for the money and for the player he is.
Exactly. Like, as much as I still stand by in terms of what I've said, like, that I still don't fully see the necessity in the signing, having Chalobah. And I obviously understand Chalobah is currently injured. So right now you're like, of course you need him, obviously. But at the time, like, we currently have 7 centre-backs at the club. Or is it 6? Whatever it is. A lot of centre-backs. But obviously with Fofana's injury, Chalobah's injury, it looks a bit, and Badiashile's injuries as well, it looks a little bit like that right now. And I'm like, I'm not even fully disagreeing with that or agreeing with that. I think they're about on the same level. But the point is, obviously, you already had Chalobah. Did you have to spend another 40 million on a different one? Especially as we didn't even manage to get rid of Chalobah.
I was going to say, I think it all depends on if you manage to sell Chalobah, because financially it made sense to do it and buy in someone new. But yeah, I think I've seen arguments go either way, that Trev is both better and worse than Disasi. So it seems like they're probably pretty even.
Yeah, probably about that. In the grand scheme of things, I'm sure they have different qualities, each of them. Would be interesting to see them play together once. I'm not sure if we will ever see that, though. Let's get to, it's kind of weird, but almost the man of the hour. Marco Cucurella back in. Obviously, he did play in the last cup round against Wimbledon. But first of all, very few people got to actually see that game because it wasn't televised anywhere in the world. But also, yeah, I don't know. But today, now, he did have his moments where Mitoma got past him and a few of the Brighton players got past him on occasions. People are probably going to criticize those, or certain people are going to criticize those moments. But I'm like, if you ever watch Brighton and Mitoma play, Mitoma does it to everyone.
Yeah,
So
Mitoma absolutely ruins everybody. So
exactly, like it doesn't matter. I think even Reece James wouldn't stop Mitoma every time. So like,
yeah, but you know what? Like, even despite that, he had I would say he had a pretty rough first 15, 20 minutes,
yeah.
and after that, he really, really shored up, and I don't think he really let anything past him for more or less the rest of the game.
There was this one moment at the very end where, in the end, they gave it like, what was it, for out of bounds or offside or
Oh
whatever,
right,
when he
yeah,
did get past once. But
yeah.
otherwise, I agree. And even on that moment, he got a bit unlucky because he tackled it, it hit the other guy, and then it kind of bobbled past him. He couldn't really do anything about it. But yeah, now obviously, because he's a left-footed right back, he didn't like exactly do much offensively. But that wasn't his job today. Like I say, it's literally like when Aspie and the Mourinho played left back as a right footer, right? That's kind of the job that Cucurella did today, and he worked his socks off. When he like gave it the fist pump for winning a tackle late in the second half.
I celebrated one of his tackles that he made as well. I was like, "Yeah, get it."
Exactly. I absolutely
give him a
love
lot
a
of
defender
stick
celebrating a tackle. By the way, it's one of my favorite things in football.
we give Cucurella a lot of stick for for deservedly for a lot of his performances that have been subpar, but he was immense today. He was really, really good. In the second half, he was our best player. Overall, probably not, but certainly in the second half, he was our best player. I'd probably give him an 8.5. I'm really, really genuinely impressed with him today.
Fair enough. I mean, if I look at some of his stats, I put down your 8.5 for now. I haven't fully decided. I didn't really have it in mind to go quite that high, but maybe I'll have to reconsider. Passing accuracy is good, 81%. Now, it could be a bit higher, but still good. Long balls, 4 out of 5 successful. That's strong. Tackles 1, 6 out of 9. Very strong. Ground duels, 11 out of 13.
That's very good.
Strong. And aerial duels, and the man is not very tall. Now, obviously, he was playing on the wing, and, wingers aren't usually particularly tall either. But still, he even won 2 out of 3 aerial duels. So,
had a really strong game.
I'm going to go along with you. Because, like, it's difficult when you have two people, if we go for different ones and they're only 0.5 apart, then what do we do? So I'm just going to agree. But, yeah, I can only really echo most of what you've said. He was so good. He impressed me. Gusto stopped Mitoma in pre-season. That is too, Bruiser. But first of all, it was pre-season. And, well, no, it was just pre-season. So you can't really, like, how can you take it to 100% in terms of, like, that? It's the same thing. Maatsen is at 99% gone in January because of this Cucurella performance. I think Maatsen is 99% gone regardless of what happens until he signs a new contract. Until he doesn't do that.
I think there's a 50-50 even if he does sign a new contract.
But not in January then, I think. If he signs a new contract, I don't think it will be sold in January. But yeah, no, in terms of staying permanently, I don't disagree. Although, we'll get to Maatsen obviously as an individual later. But I do also think that Maatsen helped Cucurella defensively, and they did a good defensive job together with Estupiñán and Mitoma on their side. I think they did.
And when Gallagher came on in the second half as well, he did that job pretty well as well.
Absolutely.
In fact, I think if I remember right, I did say something to that yesterday. If I remember, when we were looking and setting up the team, I said maybe something like Gallagher on the right helps Disasi defend on the right because we had him as the right back. But same principle seemed to work.
Exactly. It did kind of seem to work. Honestly, I think even when we still had Tuchel, that might have been, or was it under Potter? I can't really remember. But there was a point where I think it must have been last season. It must have been Potter. But we were playing a back three. And I was like, when we obviously had injuries, Reece James out, and we didn't have a backup yet. And then I think Ruben got injured as well. And we were like all talking about, well, who on earth do we play right wing back now? And I said, maybe Gallagher, because he has the legs, he's quick, he has the engine to run up and down. And he can actually cross half.
Who did in the end? It was probably Chalobah or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we might have changed formation and then played Chalobah at right back, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I suggested it. Pies just jumped straight in my face as if I've gone mental. But Pies. To be fair, didn't I yesterday say that? What if Cucurella plays right back? I think I said that yesterday when we realized, oh shit, if Disasi plays right back, Thiago Silva has to play again. And then we were like talking about, well, who could play right back? I didn't even really mean it seriously. I thought maybe, but hey, it worked out.
You heard it here first. Maurizio Pochettino watches Laurenz.
Exactly. I'll take the credit. I'll take it. But yeah, there you go. Just quickly before we move on to Ben Chilwell, Ollie, do you think this was enough from Cucurella to sit here and even say he maybe deserves a few more opportunities? I'm not saying he necessarily should start against Fulham on Saturday, but does he just Monday, sorry. Does he just deserve a few more opportunities maybe?
Do you know, based on that, you can't really say no. I mean, he had a very, very good game, especially in the second half. It seems I don't know necessarily how well he would work as like coming on as a super sub because it seems to me like he needs to sort of get into the game and warm up to the game a little bit rather than sort of come on and make an impact straight away. But I think based on that, I think he deserves it on merit. If you ask me, I mean, I could potentially see it against Fulham at the weekend if Gusto and James are still both unavailable.
Yeah, I mean the whole. We should probably touch on that. Reece James was charged by the FA for abusive conduct in the tunnel after the Villa game, or at half time of the Villa game when he was injured but sat behind the dugout. Now we don't know as of now. Would that be a fine? Will he get a reprimand? Will he get a ban? Will he get a suspended ban? I think a suspended ban is probably the most likely punishment here. But yeah, but obviously he's injured at the moment anyway. Now some people are saying, what if they just give him the ban when he's back? And I'm like, well, then we'll just say he's back, and he's actually not. Like, what are they going to do about
it? He's back for 3 weeks early.
Exactly. Just make a huge social media post. Reece James is back. They're like, he's banned. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, make of that what you will. But actually, a good shot. I didn't even think that far. That obviously it wasn't just today that we needed someone else at right back. You might as well. Like obviously, you could have Disasi because Thiago Silva will of course come back in. Obviously, you have the situation now that Ben Chilwell got injured. So you now also have to think about who do you play at left back. So you could obviously still put Colwill at left back, but you don't want Colwill at left back, Cucurella at right back, because then you have no one attacking. So that isn't really an option. So this Chilwell injury does actually make things quite difficult because obviously so far for Poch, he's always played Colwill at left back and then it's more attacking right back. Today, he kind of went for the sitting right back in Cucurella being on the wrong side, and Chilwell was the attacking side.
But it kind of worked, didn't it? But it kind of worked because that, like you say, because it allowed Chilwell to get up the pitch and kind of do what he does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But Chilwell's now injured and can't play on the weekend.
I guess you put Maatsen there. I guess.
Yeah.
If they're not gonna,
or you play Cucurella,
if they're gonna be like hyper attacking anyway, and they're not gonna do all that much defending, just put Maatsen there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just not sure if Poch will.
Yeah,
but
probably be Colwill there again.
Get closer to that, I think. On Chilwell, though, I'll bring up this tweet. It also talks about Noni Madueke here by Nizar Kinsella. He says, Pochettino has a hamstring injury and Noni Madueke simply not selected tonight. That is crazy, by the way. I don't know what's happening there because clearly had some sort of injury. Then he went on international duty, came back and didn't play. Yeah, Chilwell got injured towards the end of the game, Supreme. He was subbed off. Well, he wasn't actually subbed off. He came off and we didn't have any subs left. So we just played with 10 men for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Why is Iqbali always in the dressing room? I don't know. Poch doesn't mind.
He's got again.
It's necessarily a bad thing if he knows what he can and can't say.
Yeah, but he went again today after the game. He went again today after the game.
Seemingly. Did you know that? Or I just
tweeted it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Purely because Crispy said it, I'm like, he must have done. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said this, I assume. But yeah, Chilwell picking up an injury is very unfortunate. In terms of his
very unlucky for him today. He's just made of glass, isn't he?
Yeah, it's because he didn't even play the last 2 games, and then he starts one game and is injured again. Like,
hang on, Jeff, is that true? Are we playing Blackburn?
I like the choices of the captains, but in terms of their injury troubles, it's stupid.
Blackburn at home next round.
That's good.
Yep, good draw.
I love that. Blackburn at home. Has anyone tweeted it yet? Because then I can get it.
Darmesh put it in the chat, so maybe he's fucking with us again. But other people in the chat
maybe he was lied to again.
Yeah. It was unfortunate for Chilwell because, like you say, I thought he was having a decent enough game. Not super involved. Like Mudryk was the more sort of like dominant attacking presence on that side. I thought Chilwell sort of did a bit better as the game went on, but then unfortunately, he's gotten himself injured again, which is very frustrating for him. Hamstring injury, so I don't know how long that'll be. Maybe 3 to 4 weeks, maybe longer. Just frustrating. Really yeah, I like you say. I guess the reaction now is you got to put Maatsen there because he's kind of the only one left who can play there because we've got no one to play on the right hand side, so Cucurella has to play there. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I think overall I give Chile a 6 today. I just nothing spectacular, nothing terrible.
Exactly. I'll get to my rating for Chile in a second. I probably agree. Maybe I'd go 0.5 higher. We'll get to it in a second. I just want to quickly touch on this. Like you said, Blackburn at home. Good draw that. I'll absolutely take it, especially as Manchester United and Newcastle have been drawn against each other, meaning another one of the big teams in the competition that could win it will be taken out.
Lucky draw.
That is very good. Let's see who Arsenal get, because they're obviously the other, and Liverpool, obviously, the other big teams that are still in there, hoping to win it. Because Spurs obviously already knocked out last round, hilariously. But yeah, we get back to the lineup sheet. You gave Chile a 6. Would you go along with me if I say 6.5, or would you be adamantly sticking with the
6.5's fair. Like, I think
because I do think he was like
he had a similar
he
game
gave even Colwill
really.
a 6.5.
Yeah, I think he had a similar level of sort of impact on the game to Colwill, which is like, not super involved, but did all the basics as well as he needed to.
Exactly. I mean, he had a good passing accuracy, 80%, 3 out of 4 long balls completed. I mean, the duels weren't as strong as Cucurella, 1 out of 4 ground duels, 2 out of 3 aerial duels still. But I still feel like I'm still not sure if he was offside for that moment.
West Ham
Arsenal
Arsenal as well.
Done with that then. Although his touch wasn't great, so maybe that would have lowered his rating, not put it higher. Who knows? So you were saying, bro?
West Ham versus Arsenal have been drawn as well. So we really done well. Got lucky. But then again, we got a tougher draw in this round, didn't we, against Brighton? So
absolutely.
You can only play
away. So
you can only play whoever's in front of you, that's for sure.
Exactly. Like I say, last season we got City away. So twice. What's happening here?
Fair enough. Decent. All right. Yeah, lots of Premier League opposition playing each other. We really lucked out, I think.
Yeah, there's not many non-Premier League teams left now, is there?
Yeah, but like I say, got a lucky draw. But like I said again, you can only beat what's in front of you. Exactly. Who's next? Ugochukwu?
Ugochukwu, I'll go next. Yeah, and it's a tricky one. I saw someone in the chat say earlier how they thought he's good, but now first of all, the midfield overall was our issue today. But Ugochukwu
very leaky.
Yeah, very leaky. But Ugochukwu especially, he was a lucky boy because he got himself a yellow card, which already was not. I'm not saying that should have been a red, but that was a very solid yellow because he proper stamped on the opponent's foot. And then literally 2 or 3 minutes later, he lunges in like crazy. And honestly, that second tackle could have been a straight red, let alone a second yellow.
It was a very poor challenge on the second one. We were lucky. We were really lucky in that sense that we did well. And I think it's fair to say there were points in this game we really did kind of ride our luck, especially with that Ugochukwu challenge and with Sanchez giving the ball away and then Joao Pedro blazing it over the bar. So for me, he had a decent game today, but highlighted with like specifically poor moments. And unfortunately, that's always what's going to stand out the most. So I'd probably give him I'll go about a 6 because I think he had a worse game than someone like Chilwell or Colwill. Not a bad game by any stretch, just not as good as the others.
Yeah. It's a really difficult one for me because as an individual, outside of that he should have been sent off, I don't think he was bad. There was a couple of moments where he lost the ball in a situation where he shouldn't have, but it's difficult for me because I thought our midfield was just poor. So I almost, in a way, want to give both of the midfielders no higher than a 4 because I'm like, how can I give either of them a 6 when Brighton just walked through our midfield as if it didn't exist for basically the first hour of the game until we scored, essentially. Like they just walked through it as if it never even existed. Like honestly, it was the defender stopping it or the press stopping it. It was never the midfield doing anything, and that goes for Caicedo and Ugochukwu. Honestly, Ugochukwu did more than Caicedo did. I have to, because Ugochukwu's stats aren't bad. Tackles 3 out of 3. I can't believe how that's possible, considering you got booked once. Should have been booked another time. How can they count as successful tackles?
Don't know what counts as a duel or what. Yeah. I don't know, ground duel or something.
But surely a tackle that you get a yellow card for is a tackle, no?
But I did think so.
Maybe it's just a foul and doesn't count as a tackle anymore then. Who knows? But yeah, ground duels is 3 out of 6 is okay, I suppose. I do, whenever he plays, I do like the height he gives us in midfield and the physical strength that he gives us in midfield, which Caicedo doesn't give us. Caicedo is a bit like Kante in that sense, a bit taller than Kante, but still in terms of he's strong. He's a strong boy, Caicedo is, but he doesn't have that height and that frame. Ugochukwu does. So I do like that when we have him. But maybe my 4 in mind was a bit harsh, but
maybe my 6 was a little high. Like, you know, like you make a good point. He had a fair few kind of poor moments here and there. I don't know. Maybe we should leave this one partially up to the chat. Like, stick a poll in, see what they think.
When I read the chat, they all seem to think I'm being ridiculous. 4 for both midfielders.
Which to be fair, Laurenz, you are deluded.
Caicedo was solid. Like Caicedo was brilliant. I'm like, how? Like, again, I'm not saying they did necessarily individual moments so drastically badly, but how can the opponent walk through our midfield and everyone say the midfielders were great? I don't really get that. I'm not going to go with the 4, but I'm going to say 5. What are you going to go with, Ollie?
Do you know? I'll stick with the 6. I'll have courage in my convictions here.
Fair dues. And that leaves us overall at an even 5.5. Just to make it a bit nicer on screen, I'll give him a shorter name and use his first name, Leslie. And we get to Caicedo next to him. I was already saying this in our group chat, and I mean, looking at his stats, they don't look that bad. But honestly, so far, and the chat can obviously react to what you think about this, but I'm kind of disappointed by Caicedo so far. And I'm not saying this now means he will never be good for us. By no means am I saying that in the slightest. But so far, he's kind of done nothing. Like, I've not really seen him make a particularly good tackle. I've not seen him make a particularly good interception. He was involved, I think, before the goal today. Or was he involved?
I don't know if he got.
He was involved in the second goal that didn't count in the end.
I don't know if he got the pre-assist or something for the first goal. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it might have been the second that didn't count, but I can't remember. But and then when he gets the ball, I felt like, at least in the first half in particular, I paid more attention to it then. Every time he got the ball and he had Mudryk in front of him, he had Maatsen in front of him, he had Jackson in front of him, he turned around and passed it backwards every time, or like to Chilwell every time. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, you're not even playing as the real 6 today. That was Ugochukwu. Your job is to go forward. His pass to Mudryk in the first half was fantastic. That is true. He did play that good ball. But I still feel like, considering we played 115 million, I feel like we're not really seeing enough. And I know it's harsh to judge players by that because they didn't hit the price tags.
I think you're looking more at the price tag than the performance on that one. Because I personally think he did have a better performance than Ugochukwu, but it's just obviously Ugochukwu's a kid who we bought for like peanuts. And Caicedo obviously is supposed to be a world-class midfielder we bought for 115 million. So the standard is different and the expectations are different. And that's fair enough. But I still think despite that, you can say both that Caicedo had a better game than Ugochukwu, but also had a disappointing game a little bit for him. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I would go with like a 6.5, maybe a 7, because I thought he was running stuff actually in midfield. He looked like he was kind of the outlet for recycling the ball a lot of the time, and he seemed to do that really well. That looked like his role for me today, apart from breaking things up in the middle. But at the same time, you can't really overstate the fact that, like you say, in the first hour or so, every time like Dahoud or Gilmour, when he came on here and had anything with the ball, just drove through our defense. Drove through our midfield. Like, they weren't even there really. And thankfully the defense was good enough to stop them today, but maybe next time they won't be. I think I'm going to go with like a 6.5 ish for Caicedo.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's interesting because according to the stats here, he created the most chances in the match with 3. But he only had 1 pass into the final third. I guess if he was already in the final third himself, it doesn't count as a pass into the final third, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, maybe I just saw him as worse than he was. That may well be the case. See, I do agree that he picked up in the second half, as the whole team did. But in the first half, I just wasn't really particularly happy with it. It's because he had also less duels, and obviously he was a little bit less defensive than Ugochukwu, but he's still the more senior of the two against the team that he knows. So I just felt like you were the star of that team alongside Mitoma.
Yeah, but also like they know him, don't they?
Yeah,
it goes both
obviously,
ways.
But
so they'll know how good he is and try and stifle him from that.
But he's the more defensive guy. Like, surely,
not
as
in
the
a pairing
attacker,
with
knowing the guy you're trying to dribble past, surely knowing him only helps you so much. But being the guy that knows the guy that's trying to dribble past you, that surely is a much bigger advantage. But
I think it's equal either way. I think you get that. It's the point where you get into like sports psychology and stuff about, just mentalities and who's stronger and whatnot. But I think largely it probably works out as even.
Yeah, I guess. You said 6.5, didn't you? I'm not willing to give him higher than a 6. I think I might even say 5.5 and leave it at a 6 overall, I know the chat might not be happy with this because almost everybody seems to have said like 7 and 8 and all sorts of mad business. I'm like, did you not watch the game? We had less possession, won less duels. Like we had only 39% possession. Like, and people want to give our midfielders 8. I don't understand.
I don't know. Is that the midfielder's fault?
Yeah. Who else?
It's the whole team. Like, I'm just thinking the whole team is about possession. Obviously. It seems like maybe it was in the game plan a little bit. You got it, and also it's kind of hard to stop Brighton from playing their game, and at times they did. So obviously they were going to have more of the ball.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I think it works out.
To you that they were going to have more of the ball. I swear we had more of the ball against them last season.
I don't know.
Obviously, it's a slightly different team where we still had cover and stuff. But...
Yeah, it's different. I know we have had a lot of we had a high possession a lot this season as well, our highest in the Premier League. But just for whatever reason, I just thought Brighton are going to come to play. They're going to have a bit more of the ball. I didn't know how much they would have of the ball, but I think it works out ultimately about fair with the scoring because, like I said, I think he had a better game than Ugochukwu. So 6 versus 5.5.
I'm okay. I'm okay with the 6 overall. It's just like if I said 6 now, then we'd have 6 and 6.5. You know what? What I will let's see what the Sanchez rating has turned out as. Oh, they were more on your end than anything else for sure. Sanchez's rating so far, the 4 has won the poll so far with 31%. And then it's just progressively goes down as the ratings go up. 5 with 25%, 6 with 23%, and 7 with 21%. So that's interesting. But I guess, the chat has spoken. And, they kind of agree with Ollie. So we'll just give him what the chat says.
Some of you guys got ball knowledge,
But Ollie, you gave 0.5 higher. That is awful, man.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a fraud.
That's funny. Ladies and gentlemen, I will just give you a poll for Caicedo's rating in the chat in a second. Let me just type it out for you.
Yeah, see if people who are saying 8 are the loud minority as opposed to the silent majority.
It could very well be the case. I'm not giving 4 options here. I'm only giving the 2 that we're deciding between a 6 and a 6.5. So it may well end up just being a 6.5. We'll leave it. I leave it as a 6.5 for now. And if I need to change it, I will. Let's move up the pitch. Let's get to Cole Palmer. I like him, mate. I like him. I don't know how you feel about him, but I like him. I still would love if he had that little tad of extra pace, and he seems to not. But technically, very good. I love the way he controls the ball. I love the way he gets himself between the ball and the opponent. Very good. I love how he looks for passes, or like offensive passes, on every occasion that he can. I like the assist. Very happy. 92% pass accuracy in the position that he played. Very good.
Really good.
Yeah, exactly. Now, in terms of duels, 3 out of 5 is good as well. Obviously, he would have offensive duels in that sense, so that's very good. He's not a dribbler. That's not what you're going to get from him. He attempted one, wasn't successful at it. But I really like him. That shot he had in the first half, that annoyed me a little bit. I'm like, why didn't you try to play Mudryk? Because the shot was awful. But then again, the shot could have not been awful, and then I wouldn't complain, would I? So, fair enough, I guess. We do often complain about our players not shooting enough. So there you go.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was with that. I was like, I'm not going to be upset if someone chooses to shoot from 25 yards. At least you're having a go.
Exactly. Exactly that. That's my only concern now with the Cucurella 8.5, to be honest. I was going to give him an 8 anyway. But I'm not sure who I'm going to give higher than that. And I'm not really sure if I believe Cucurella was necessarily the best player on the pitch in the whole game. But I'm not sure if Palmer deserves 8.5, 9. I was more thinking an 8. Is that around the area you were thinking about? And what do you think of him as a player anyway?
Yeah, do you know what? I was actually thinking similar about an 8, which you're right, does make Cucurella look a little bit high. But so maybe we need to down him to say maybe like a 7.5. Because I think Palmer was actually our best player in the end. I thought he was just getting about everywhere, making quality balls, quality passes, quality runs, like just doing all the things you expect a Man City prospect to actually do. Just makes the game look really easy. The way he plays the game, he looks like he's got so much confidence in his game already, and he just did really, really well. And for me, that performance was enough for him to cement that attacking midfield spot until Nkunku's. At least until Chukwuemeka's back, if not Nkunku as well. Especially for the the assist, cheeky little nutmeg as well. Did really well. Very impressed with him today.
Very good. I say this multiple times, but I would just love if after games we could also see distance covered. Obviously, there is
did a lot of defensive work today,
but there is also like I do think it gives you a bit of an indicator. You were trying to say, Gon?
Yeah, he did a lot of defensive work today as well. I didn't mention that. He got back a lot. He did really, really well.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe let's not go down to a 7.5, but let's also give him an 8.
I think that's fair. I think that they were between them. They were the best players we had today.
Yeah, there you go. Because we also have to say there was a lot of periods in the game where our attackers didn't really have the ball much. So
no NX, Jackson's second goal wasn't offside. Not really.
No, it didn't look like it anyway. Like that was the second thing that annoyed me as well. I'm like, just because there's no VAR, does that mean we have to get awful replay angles? Like, I don't really understand.
I don't know. Maybe the fact that they have VAR, the fact they didn't have VAR means that no, it can't be because they were both Prem sides. They'll have the cameras and stuff, won't they? It's like I mean,
aren't they permanently built into the stadiums? Like, surely they don't.
You would think so. The refs don't, bring them and take them away. Sure.
Yeah, that seemed like that. If that was the case, that seems like a lot of a waste of workforce.
Maybe it's just like they have them there, but they're just not allowed to use them or something. I don't know.
Fair enough. If you don't want to, if you can't, if there's no VAR, you don't use them for the refs. That's fair enough. But surely you could still show us on TV. No, I also feel like before VAR was a thing, we had proper cameras at Stamford Bridge to see whether something was offside. It just felt like, I don't know if it's a cup thing, because obviously against Wimbledon this was the case, but that wasn't televised, so it's a bit different. Maybe it's just because it wasn't televised in the UK and some of the.
I just thought it was because Wimbledon don't. I don't think. Do they have VAR?
No, but I mean today, right? Because it was televised globally, but not in the UK still. So maybe some of these cameras are like Sky or BT or something like that.
Maybe
the international feeds don't get them. Then I couldn't tell you, but yeah, I didn't think it was offside either.
No,
but yeah,
for me, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, there you go. It certainly seems like he could be the creator that we need and want. Why, especially while we don't have Nkunku, even if Nkunku isn't really a creator himself, but that has then different impacts. But while we don't have Nkunku, while we don't have Chukwuemeka as well, I'm happy with Palmer, and I just hope he keeps starting now. And no more put him on the bench now. No more Enzo Fernandez at the 10 for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Just play Palmer there, play Enzo deeper, and we're laughing all the way to the back.
Yeah, Caicedo, Enzo, Palmer is the 3 for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I really hope we get to see that against Fulham on Monday. Let's get to Ian Maatsen. Honestly, don't even know.
Yeah, I thought he was all right, but he has this funny thing where like you just don't really notice him all that much in games. I don't know. Like I think maybe it's just because he made such a splash in preseason that like we're all kind of expecting big things from him. We just haven't seen it. So maybe that I don't know. He just doesn't draw my attention as much as some of the other players.
No, it's a weird one because to me it felt like I was watching a fullback play an attack. Now, not the way Chile does, not in terms of he doesn't have any clue what really he is supposed to be doing, but he still, I felt like I'm watching a player who, in his heart, still prioritizes defensive actions over offensive actions. That's just what it felt like watching it. Because also looking at the stats, ground duels, he had 5 out of 8. That's good. Tackles, 2 out of 4. But then when you look at offensive stats, he barely had the ball. He succeeded at 13 passes out of 19 at 68%. It's not bad for his position, but it's not great. And I just didn't really notice him do much in attack. So that's a bit of a shame, I guess. But I still don't think he was necessarily. It's a weird one because I'm going to say he wasn't bad, so I just want to give him a 6. But at the same time, considering he was an attacker, he kind of didn't really do anything. So actually, I think I might give him a 5. Because I'm like, well, you were an attacker. You are supposed to do something. And attacking-wise, he didn't do nothing, did he?
I think that's a tiny bit harsh. I would have given him a 6.
Maybe.
Just because he is kind of playing out of position. I know that's where Pochettino wants him to play, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like his natural position at all. He did some decent things. I think he was a little bit involved in the goal. But it's but like you say, I think it's just for whatever reason it's just hard to notice him sometimes. And you know when you're playing like that and you're an attacker, that's not the best thing, is it? So I think I wouldn't go higher than a 6.
There you go. Someone said that Maatsen created the goal. So I'm just watching it back now. It was a little lovely pieces of build up. Maatsen created a goal is a drastic over-exaggeration.
He was like the fourth pre-assist.
Yeah, it was him and Cucurella were kind of passing it back and forth between them like 2 or 3 times. And then they played it into the middle to Caicedo, who played it to Palmer, who then played through Jackson. Like, yeah, he was involved, but like it was just simple 1-2s between him and Cucurella. Yeah, I'm gonna say 5.5. Did you say 6? Did you?
Yeah, I said 6. So yeah, averages out 5.5.
Fair enough. Let's give him a 5.5. I think that's okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, there you go. Let's get to Mudryk on the other side. I'm not sure if you're going to agree with it, Ollie, but for me, you can now see why I've been saying for weeks, just play the kid. Yeah. And he will get better. Now, he's not a superstar yet. He's not doing everything right yet.
He's getting incrementally better with every game he starts.
Yeah, he looks more confident.
Even if it's like just a smidge.
He looks like he fits. Like he looks like he's supposed to be here more and
more.
He
looks like an actual footballer now.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a shame that no, NX, it wasn't. Unless the goal I just watched back was the offside goal, which it doesn't say, and they've just took all the other ones down. Maybe it was actually.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
That is again the offside one. Do they just want to show me the offside one today? Actually, okay. No, he was right. He was right. That was the offside goal. Sorry. It was a fan angle that I initially was watching, so I wasn't sure. There you go. For that, I will give him in the 6. Let him have it. Go.
Clown loss. Fraud confirmed.
Yeah, literally. Fraud confirmed. Absolutely. Put me in the mud. Thankfully, still not as deep as the seagulls, so that's good.
Right.
But exactly. But yeah, Mudryk, there was this moment where I just wish he fell over, and I'm like, there's no fair play awards here, mate. We need a goal. We need a win. In the end, we won, so no one cares. But if we draw this game, and then go to penalties and potentially lose, or if we lose the game, I think I and probably a lot of other ones would be very critical of him for not falling over there.
I think that's so harsh, though.
It is, but like in the
it's so
because we need to grab everything we can.
I know, but it's such a rare thing for any player to intentionally take the contact.
No. But I'm not trying to fall over in terms of dive. That's not what I'm asking.
No. But what I'm saying is, to actually still take the contact, to recognize that and to go down is actually much harder than it looks. Like it's so rare that it actually happens. And like someone like Harry Kane was really good at it. For example, like he would be always really good at kind of like leaving a trailing leg or whatever and kind of like baiting the contact a little bit. Mudryk was just trying to stay up, and I can't really fault him for just wanting to try and score the goal, like instead of like going down and taking penalty. Maybe it's not the tactical thing to do, but for me, I don't know. I would always rather someone try to score than try to get a penalty.
Yeah, no, in general, I obviously 1,000% agree. It's just the situation that we were in, and then he took it
for
sure.
In that moment, it's frustrating that he just
anymore.
It
was a bit of
I think that, I think we were talking about it at the time. I think it's just a maturity thing. I think with more experience, he gets in that situation again and he knows what to do, so I don't know. I thought he had a really good game, if I'm honest. I thought he played really well. Like I said, every game that he plays, he starts at the moment, he's getting incrementally better. I was really, really impressed with him today. I think I would give him a 7 on balance. I was impressed with his play.
See, I think I would probably go along with a 7. I think a 7.5 would be overdoing it, but I think anything with the 6 is a bit too low. Now, the stats aren't like incredible in all senses. Now, passing accuracy is good, 73%, but it was only 11 out of 15. Dribbling 1 out of 4, at least he completed 1, I guess. Crosses not great, 0 out of 4, although there was also a couple which were good crosses and just no one got on the end of. But tackles, 2 out of 2. Ground duels, 7 out of 12.
Had a really good display defensively, actually, today.
Yeah.
Really put a shift in off the ball, which people really criticise him for. I think overly a little bit, in my view, because I don't think he's as bad off the ball as people say. I think people saw that he had one bad off the ball performance and kind of labelled him as that forever. Whereas, he's better than he seems, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. I do think sometimes, because what no one can deny Mudryk is work rate, whether it's off the pitch and on the pitch. He sometimes doesn't seem to fully understand when he needs to tackle and when he needs to like press very close or when he just needs to close down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe he still needs to learn those things a little bit. I guess playing for Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukrainian league, one of the 2 big teams that kind of batter everyone, maybe that's a little bit less required. So those are the kind of things that you learn when you come to the top leagues and stuff, where every game is a difficult game, and it's not just once every 3 months that you play a difficult game. But even that, I would say he's slowly improving at. Like, his timing of tackles is getting better. We know he's strong, but what I really like about him is in a very different way to Hazard, because Hazard just had such a low center of gravity with his massive bottom, right? Mudryk does it in a very different way, but just being jacked as fuck.
Yeah, Hazard's secret was his ass the whole time.
Exactly. It's like F1 drivers. They feel with their ass. Hazard just bloody pushed off defenders with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Mudryk, when Mudryk gets pushed over, he pretty much always gets a free kick. And when he doesn't get pushed over, well, he just doesn't get pushed over easily. Like, even Jackson today, there were so many occasions where he just a little push in the back and Jackson was flying halfway across the pitch. I'm like, how can this happen? Bloody lean against it, man. I'm pretty happy with Mudryk. I do still want him to get that goal or assist soon. And yeah, even if it's just an assist from a flipping corner, because he's taking those, right? Just get something.
He'll get them. He's continuing to build on his performances, which is what we want to see. Against more difficult opposition as it goes on. So I don't know. Against Fulham, hopefully he plays again, and hopefully he has a good match.
There you go. He did have that one good cross to, again, it was on the ground, so probably that's why it didn't count as a cross, but to Palmer. That was a difficult angle for Palmer to say he should have scored, but he could have scored. So that was
a half chance for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a good chance created from Mudryk. Let's finish it off with Nicolas Jackson then. It's a tricky one for me, because I thought outside of the goal and the goal that he scored, I didn't think it was very good at all.
It's one of them, isn't it?
It off the pitch once. There was the other moment where he just I don't know what he was trying to do, just nothing. It was just, I don't know. It wasn't really all working out for him. I thought he looked a bit weak in a few occasions where he just got pushed over way too easily for my personal preference. But he scored the goal. He scored another goal, which didn't seem to have been offside. So with that in mind, I think probably around a 7 is a fair rating. What did you make of him? What would you rate him, mate?
So a little bit of preamble first is one of Jackson's biggest issues, I think, is his quite youthful attitude, I think, and it leads to him being quite naive and sometimes a little bit sloppy in what he does. For example, he drops into midfield really deep, and because he's impatient and he wants the ball, and that's fair enough. He wants to try and score a goal, but he comes
especially because we don't really have that kind of we don't have like a Salah or Mane who are the type of wingers to then automatically kind of gravitate towards that central area that the striker has now left open. We don't do that. So when Jackson drops, there's just no one, and that isn't really smart.
Somebody's got to get into that gap if that's going to be the plan. But the thing is like I say, Jackson's going too deep and too soon because he's impatient, basically. And and what happens is, as a result, then if he does manage to lay it off to someone else, and then we do manage to progress the ball up the pitch, there's a great big gaping hole where our main striker should be. Really, he needs to be kind of either playing right off the shoulder of the last defender to either get in behind, because he does make decent runs, or he needs to be playing with his back to goal, but also basically on the last defender as well, to be able to then play off of some of the other players around him, create space, cause problems. If he's coming all the way into midfield, he's got 2 sets of players then he has to beat if he gets the ball. If he does want to turn and run, for example. So just for me, I think he just needs to be a bit more positionally disciplined, and just a bit more disciplined in general. And that's kind of where I'm coming from with this kind of naivety that he's got. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I can't complain. He got a goal, should have had a second goal, took them both really well. I would say about 7.5. I would say. I think he probably had a better game than Mudryk just because he got the goal. Decent. I hope. Especially, I hope his hand's all right as well, because he seemed to he really hurt his wrist. So hopefully the time off will benefit him when he's suspended.
Exactly, because he will have obviously that game off, and we don't have a midweek game next week, so he will have a good old 10 days or so until the next game. But at the end of the day, it's the hand, right? Thankfully, we play a sport called football, so if he has a little brace on. I remember like Arnautovic for the Austrian national team once even played with like a cast on. He had to get special permission from the ref and then was allowed to play with it. So I'm sure
all sorts of players play with like hand like casts and bandages and stuff like you say Suarez did and other players did as well in the past. I can't actually think of anyone now, but Suarez definitely did.
Yeah, Suarez did, Benzema did, but I think for them it's more tape. But obviously, depends on the injury. What you need is tape.
There was definitely a time. I swear, there was definitely a time Suarez like properly injured his arm and he had like a blue cast. But maybe I'm misremembering it. I'm not sure.
No, I think you might be right. Honestly, I think you might. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I've given you a poll to decide for Jackson's rating between a 7 and a 7.5 because I went 7, Ollie went 7.5. We'll let you decide on that. Caicedo did, it was like 60-odd%. They gave Caicedo a 6.5. So that's what he shall get. And yeah, just to finish it off on Jackson, it's a weird one because I really like what you said in terms of that he's just youthful, that you just feel that he's still 22, that he doesn't have that much experience at this top level.
I think some of our players, they exhibit a little bit more maturity than others. Like, I would say Palmer, despite being younger than Jackson, is probably a bit more mature than him, just in the way that he plays, positional discipline. That's all it is. And Jackson
feels more comfortable on 100%. The pitch at this level than Jackson yet does. Also, Mudryk,
and he'll get there, I think. It just at the moment, he's just like his youth is probably both his biggest strength because it gives him kind of like boundless energy and makes him always want to work hard. But it's also kind of his biggest weakness as well for what we outlined before.
Absolutely, and I think it's also a bit natural for us fans because we're not used to the whole team being this young, and like you have it in mind for like some like Ugochukwu is only 19 because. In our team, being 22 isn't actually young anymore. So
you're a leader of the team.
Exactly. We like he's the same age as Enzo, who's won the flipping World Cup, and it's one of the more consistent players we have in the team. But with how much experience in terms of actual football him and both Mudryk have, you obviously feel it. I also think for Jackson, it's a bit difficult because the way he looks like a proper warrior, in my opinion. Like he just has this. Like I don't know. I love the way
he's got like an intensity to him.
Yeah, an intensity to him. Like I don't know, he just looks like a warrior to me. So that makes him look less young. Where some players, Palmer has a baby face. I know he acts more maturely anyway, but he still looks like a kid. While Jackson looks like a proper man, even though like they're essentially the same age.
It's the difference between the UK and Senegal, I guess.
And that Senegal will make you a warrior, I suppose. But shout out Senegal.
100%.
But yeah, I have no idea how much time he actually spent in Senegal, considering how he speaks English and Spanish and all sorts of languages. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. Shout out Jackson, and we'll leave the poll going for a little while longer as we talk about the subs because we did make a few of them. Shock on that. We did actually only make 4, so I'm not really sure why we didn't bring anyone on for Chilwell at the end.
Oh, we only made 4 in the end. I thought we made all of them.
No. But we used up all 3 stoppages that we could. That's why we didn't make them.
That's why. Yeah, fair enough. You got to do 5 subs and 3 stoppages. I keep forgetting.
Exactly. Or 4 if you include half-time, I think. But we didn't make 1 at half-time, obviously. But yeah, Sterling came on for Mudryk, which made sense because obviously Mudryk started the weekend game and, Sterling wasn't involved. So it made sense for him to come on. Palmer was replaced by Enzo Fernandez after 75 minutes, as was Conor Gallagher coming on for Ian Maatsen. And then the very last sub, a bit later than I probably would have liked, just because I love Broja. But we had so much injury time, which is baffling. How can there be 7 minutes of injury time without VAR? It's a bit mental. But anyway, Broja coming on for Jackson. Do you have a rating to give any of them? Because honestly,
funny enough, the only one I actually have a rating for is Broja. Just because I thought he came on and he instantly had more impact for me than the other 3 who came on. Yeah. He just affected the game more. Thought he did really well with his little cameo. I wouldn't give him more than 6.5, but just looked really promising. And like I said earlier, it looks really fit and ready to go. And it's exciting to see it. Good for him.
There you go. The only thing I'll say, and I'm not trying to bash Sterling, but as soon as Sterling came on for Mudryk, we didn't have attacking threat down the left-hand side at all anymore.
It's the 3rd game in a row we've taken Mudryk off and kind of lost our attacking nous a little bit.
It's very true.
No, it's beginning to become a pattern.
Him keeping his starting spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Sterling, I know he played with injury time over half an hour. But
I know, but he didn't really do anything.
No, I mean, he had 4 passes, 7 touches.
He barely, so he was barely
he completed all 4 of those, so well done to him. But
100%
really enough
rate.
to give him the rate.
All hits, no misses.
Exactly. I mean, if I give him a rating, I'd just give him a 6, probably, because I didn't notice him doing anything. Well, maybe you should go low because there was no threat anymore. But
Maybe,
I didn't feel like that was necessarily something that he did wrong as such.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would honestly say the same for Enzo and Gallagher too. Enzo had a few more touches, 19, 9 passes, 6 of them completed, which for him isn't a great percentage, I must say. Ground duel 0 out of 4. Maybe he should get a rating, but he's probably lucky if he doesn't. So we'll just give him an A. Would you agree with it for him too, I assume, Ollie?
Yeah, NA for Gallagher as well. Hansen, like, kind of promising moments, but nothing really stood out.
Yeah, Gallagher did get involved, had less touches, but did get involved off the ball a bit more, had more ground duels, won 3 of them as well, which is pretty good. And, had 4 or 5 completed passes, so you can't complain.
Yeah, I think maybe Sterling's a little bit lucky to escape without a rating there, but he just didn't really, I don't know, he just didn't notice him enough, whether he did anything good or bad.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, rather than giving Broya a rating for playing 10 minutes, I'll give him an emoji. What do you have an emoji in mind that you would like to give him, mate?
Just a smiley face, thumbs up, something like that. Just happy to have him back.
You know what I'm going to go? I'm going to go for like clapping hands.
Or the Albanian flag or something,
Could do Albanian flag. But now I've got the clapping hands. Let's just go with clapping hands because, I mean, we've kind of spoken about it already anyway, but yeah, I'm surprised by how strong, sharp, and quick he looks. Like when you think about in the past players that have come back from ACL injuries, they don't tend to look this good. And
they always look half a yard slower, but I didn't really notice it with him.
No, exactly. And not even like they look half a yard slower often for like a year after. But especially in the first couple of games back, they're usually
and some players never recover from it.
Exactly. Look at someone like Torres. I'm not sure if he had an ACL, but he had a knee injury, and that literally ruined him.
Yeah,
like Falcao as well. Like it happens to a lot of players. So I'm happy that it didn't seem to have been the case. Also, like obviously, it's late September now, but
we brought him back really slowly, didn't we?
But he was still apparently ahead of schedule in terms of his whole rehabilitation situation.
So I guess he just trained really hard and got lucky with the healing, and but I think they even said that they deliberately even held him back even further than they did to make sure he was.
He was obviously, if you remember, he was part of when we started preseason at Cobham before we flew out to the US. He was actually involved in that preseason.
Yeah, he was. He was. He was playing with the ball, doing actual ball and some teamwork as well.
Exactly, but then didn't fly out to America and wasn't used in preseason and wasn't used until.
I guess he just wasn't. Yeah, just wasn't quite at that point. He just wasn't fully ready. But you know what? He seems fully ready now. He arguably looks fitter than when he got injured.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we don't know in terms of stamina. It's going to be interesting on Monday, by the way, because obviously Jackson's suspended. Is he going to go for Broya? I feel like he probably won't, and he will probably be Sterling up front. But let's wait and see.
Well, I mean, you could start with Broya and see how he gets on. Yeah, struggling by half time, you take him off. You could even give.
That's why I was surprised he didn't give him more today, because he said in the press conference yesterday he could do like 20 to 30 minutes, and he only brought him on after 87. So I'm like,
I guess didn't want to upset things. Jackson was playing well.
No, that's fair. But if you want to get him more fit because you might need him on Monday, giving him a 20 to 30 minutes in the tank might have been helpful. But then, obviously Poch will have his reasons, I'm sure. But yeah, in general, maybe his age, obviously him being 22, I think at the time of injury was probably only 21. He just turned 22 like 2 weeks ago. That probably helped him his recovery. But yeah, at the end of the day, very pleased. Let's finish it off with our rating for Pochettino. I guess we'll put it below Sanchez, who's, I do feel it's a bit harsh that he got a 4, if I'm being perfectly honest, considering he kept the clean sheet. I know he gave the ball away really badly once, but
I think that's probably about
all the other ratings.
It's about as low as it can get without conceding a goal.
Yeah, in my opinion, even lower than it can get. But there you go. Hey, it was a chat decision with Oli, so no complaints from my end. Pochettino then. One thing we didn't touch on, which maybe we will touch on that for a second. What did you make of the fact that it was Sanchez that started and not Petrovic? I know you were kind of, supporting that idea yesterday in the preview already.
It was more that I just kind of predicted it. I just thought that Sanchez was in good form, and after he got 2 decent games on the bounce where he was arguably our best player, he potentially had a really good opportunity today to really cement that starting spot. Just had a poor game in the end, but I guess at the moment Pochettino just didn't want to change up too many things. Already made like 5 changes for the game today, so maybe just didn't want to cause too much panic. At the back as well is still quite a you've got. Oh, I suppose no, it's not that inexperienced a back line, is it? But it just I don't know. I think it just seems a little bit more confident and considered, I imagine, than having someone come on for their debut.
No, and
but then I see what you mean.
Who we played, I'm sure Petrovic would have played today.
Maybe he'll play against Blackburn, in the next round. Maybe it was just about the caliber of opponent. Also,
Very
Sanchez
possible.
knows
Blackburn Championship. Yeah, I assume.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe as well, like Sanchez knows Brighton, obviously, and Ben Roberts will have obviously known Brighton as well. Mm-hmm. So, I guess it made sense. And ultimately, it looks like it worked out as the gamble because we won the game and kept a clean sheet.
Exactly. But then in terms of Potter's rating, where would you go? Excuse me.
I'll give Pochettino, I'm going to give him a 7.5. Maybe no, I'll go an 8. Actually, I'll go with an 8 because when I first saw the team, I was really kind of confused. Like I said, I had no idea what kind of formation we were playing, how we were going to play any of that. And despite all that, actually, we had a good performance today, and what we needed, most importantly, was a good result. Pochettino, I thought he made decent subs at the right times. I thought specifically, mostly Gallagher and Broja were the most effective. Sterling not so much, and Enzo a little less as well, but. Actually, I thought he made good subs and he made them at good times. And I thought they were like the appropriate subs to make at the right time. Like we were trying to slow down the game. So bringing on both Gallagher and Enzo, 2 midfielders, like Gallagher can help run the channels on the right, break things up in midfield. Enzo can control the play with his passing. It just made sense. And I think that's some things we haven't really seen recently with Poch is just like some things that we just can't make any sense of it. So ultimately, for me today, like we had a game plan, we managed to execute it well, and you can't fault him for that. So yeah, give him an 8.
There you go, fair enough. See, I was going to go 7, and when you said 7.5, I was just going to go along with you. But now that you said 8, I think I'm going to stick to my 7 and give us a 7.5 overall.
That's fair.
I think that leaves us in a nice middle ground. Naku, 1 on XG, 1 on the scoreline, job done. Very true. And I can only really be of praise for the most part as well. The only thing I still want to mention is, and I have no problem with Maatsen obviously playing and being used, but I would like to know more about this Mudryk situation because
for sure. I get the distinct feeling he just doesn't rate him for whatever reason. I don't know. Like I know he was
used him. He was one of our best players every time.
I agree. I just for whatever reason
against Wimbledon, he let him take the penalty against Wimbledon. So that makes me kind of question the whole situation a little bit. You know what I mean?
Is he upset? Like there was that video of him like out clubbing and stuff. But I don't know if that would have caused it. I don't know.
See, now that you say it, it could be that,
like because
Poch might not be happy. Poch seems like the guy that would not like that.
Yeah, but as well, like I'm pretty sure he was in like the Spurs. He left the Spurs youth team when Poch was at Spurs, if I remember rightly. So like,
but it was like the youth
I know it's the youth team, so I don't know how much say Poch really had over that, but maybe there was. Like, you never know. Like there could. What I'm saying basically is there could be history there, even if there's not. Just seems ultimately that for whatever reason he just isn't selecting him at the moment to the point where he's even choosing Maatsen over him. Which is
not just choosing Maatsen over him, like he's putting 2 goalies on the bench, he's putting David Washington on the bench. Now, obviously, different positions.
Yeah, and he is fit, like he's not injured, so there's clearly something is going on there. But Noni's just got to put his head down, work hard, and hopefully get his good graces back into the team, I guess.
Exactly. One last thing before we round it out, and we will in a minute or two, guys. Make sure you still place your vote for the rating for Nicolas Jackson, because currently, after 61 votes, we sit on 49% for a 7 and 51% for a 7.5. And a minute ago, when I looked, it was actually exactly 50-50. So, ladies and gentlemen, place your vote. I will give you a couple more minutes as I round it. Go on.
Use the poll. Vote. And while you're using the poll, like and subscribe. Like so you can get more of this content on your channel. Subscribe so you can see Laurenz, hit the notification bell, so you can get notified every time Lods comes on the stream. He streams all the damn time. He works hard. He deserves it, and it's free, and it doesn't cost you any money or time. So just do it.
Exactly. Appreciate that very much, Ollie. And on that note, please do also check out Ollie's stuff. Ollie's Twitter and Ollie's podcast are both linked down in the description below at the Bridge Pod. I really enjoy, hopefully, a cameo of myself on that podcast in the near future. We'll see about that. Exactly. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, still keep voting away. now we're back to 50-50 exactly. Well, you're not helping, are you, guys? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it's got to go in the middle. Maybe he's got to be 7.25.
You know what? We'll give Jackson the first ever 0.25 of anything on this channel.
Yeah. Don't call it a thing. It's not going to be a thing. It's just because you're deadlocked.
Exactly. I think we might have gone to 51% again now, but yeah, I think let's do that, especially because
it's pretty split. It's fair enough.
Let's just say if he scored if the second goal counted, it would have been higher. But because it didn't count, we kind of give him a little bit of an extra point because we know it wasn't offside, but the ref didn't. So we'll let it go that way. So we round this one out, ladies and gentlemen. One last time, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Ollie. Links are down in the description below. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. We finally won a game of football. I am absolutely over the moon, and we'll see you next time.